Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be ranking all of Yeeps gadgets, at least currently. If you guys are watching this and it's like 2 months or whatever behind, I'm not going to be obviously covering everything, especially with Yeeps 2.0 around the corner. However, I'm going to be ranking my top 20 gadgets. I think there's only 20, but let's get into the video. Alright guys, the first item in D tier, and the way I'm organizing it is I'm going from 20 to my favorite one. And it's in D tier. No item in Yeeps is bad, it's just some are more useful than others. But the first item is the frisbee. I don't actually own the regular frisbee. I don't really know why, but I've used it before. I know exactly how it works. If you're really good at it, you can jump on the frisbee, but I kind of suck at the game, so I can't really jump with the frisbee. However, I do have this one. It's the one that you got on the Christmas tech web. I think it's pretty useful. It's just a snowflake. You can climb on it, so it sticks into walls. This one is way more useful than the regular one. However, the ones coming up are just way better. And I don't even use this. I don't even use the basic frisbee. That's one reason why I don't have it, is just because it's not very useful in game. But yeah, on to the next item. Alright guys, the next item is the detonator bomb, or little detonator thingy. I don't ever use this, and I rarely ever use these kind of bombs. This is really the only kind you should use if you're using impulse bombs. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I just don't ever use this. This is only really useful if you just tower up with a bunch of these. Or I think it's just one, and there's just a gap underneath, and there's a floor. Then you place your little ender pearl thingy up there, and then when you detonate it, it falls down, and you can teleport back to the skybase. However, I just really don't use the detonator, so that's why it's getting D tier. However, I do think it's more useful than frisbee because I literally never use it. The only time I used it was when I first got it. I was just climbing walls with it, but I just never use it. But the detonator, I only use it when I'm skybasing, so that's why it gets D tier. Alright guys, the next item is the smoke bomb. This gets C tier. So this is a new tier, obviously. Unless you're stupid, you should know that. Yes, this gets C tier. I think it's pretty good. However, it's just, I don't ever use it. I mean, the only times I use it is if I build like the little contraption, similar to how I put the ender pearl thing in the skybase. However, I only use this if I use like the actual block. The only time I use this is if I'm doing some sort of challenge or video. But it is pretty fun to use. I mean, it's literally just a smoke bomb. It sprays smoke. But yeah, I don't ever use this. I would have put it in D tier. However, I use this just a little more than the other ones. And I think it's actually pretty useful. I just don't use it that often. So if I did, it might even be up to B tier. I just don't use it. So on to the next one. Alright guys, the next item is actually the little dummy decoy thing. I don't know what to call it. But I just never use this, like the voice decoy. It's actually pretty useful because people think you're in one location when you're not. But this one, I just never use this. Like, people never fall for, oh look, that's a real player. The only time it might work is if you put it inside of, like in this. Like, it still doesn't work. I think it works in the actual car thing. But I think they patched it because you used to be able to just stick it on. But now, yeah, I think it doesn't work anymore. You used to be able to stick it on, but now you can't, so it's practically useless. That's why it's getting C tier. I do use it more than the smoke bomb just because, I mean, it looks cool. It's literally just you. Also, sometimes when changing my fit, you can't actually see your back. So sometimes I just place this down so I can see my full outfit. What's the next item? Alright guys, I don't actually use this next item because I don't own it. But it is actually pretty useful, and it is the smoke sticky bomb. I'll put an image of it on the screen. It looks just like the impulse bomb, however it freezes things. I do believe it has a bigger impact radius when it explodes, and you can stick it onto people, so it's a little more accurate, I guess. But I just never use it, even when I get the chance to use it. I mean, just use the regular snowball, you know? But yeah, I don't really care for it. I do see why some people use it, especially if you're pretty good. And so the next tier, which is B tier. Alright guys, to start off this tier, we have the head dummy. I don't know exactly what this is called, but it's just a head dummy. As you can see, it talks when I talk, so it's pretty good for distracting people. You can't actually hear me, I believe. You only hear it coming from this, so it's like a little speaker. This has a couple uses. One, just placing it around the map and running around. People think you're over here, but a lot of good players, or at least semi-decent, don't really follow based on audio cues because of this, and they mostly just follow based on sounds like walking or just seeing the person in general. The next use, and this one's actually pretty good, is for walkie-talkies. If you have someone else's head, you can go on a skybase or whatever it is. A lot of times for skybases, I throw my head on someone's back, and then they throw their head on mine, and we can hear each other. So it's almost like we're in a call, but we don't have to friend each other and do all that crap. This is pretty good. However, I just don't find myself skybasing or using it that much. So because of that, it gets B tier, it's mid. But yeah, on to the next item. Alright guys, the next item is the firework. Now, a lot of people love this item. However, I think it's just kind of mid. That's why it's in B tier. This item, it's just a firework. It carries you in that direction. I don't know, I just don't really use it that much. There's so many better items for 600 cotton. And unless you're pairing it with a better item, such as the snowball, it's not very good, I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, it's 600. It's really expensive for how little it does. It is really good for beginners though. So if you're new to the game, definitely try to go for this at the start. And then once you get better at the game, then you can start using more complicated items like hot cocoa for hot cocoa jumping and just different stuff. But that's why it gets mid tier. On to the next item. Alright guys, the next item is the explosive bomb. This, I just don't find myself using it. I think it's kind of mid. If you guys have watched some of my other videos, you will know that I love the impulse bomb, and this is just kind of a worse version of it. It costs double the amount, and I don't find myself wanting to explode things, you know? I don't want to have to spend cotton just to remove cotton that I could be gaining from it, you know? But, I don't know, this item's just kind of mid. There's so many better items compared to it, and if you're using it for mobility, just use the impulse bomb. I don't think it carries you any farther. I think it's the same, but yeah, it's just kind of mid. On to the next item. Alright guys, the next item is the pillow bomb. This one is really good. However, I just don't use it that often. The only times I use it is when I'm skybasing. I throw it down, I throw it up, and it explodes in the air. I usually use grapples to get onto it, throw another one down, throw it up, just to get distance. I rarely find myself using this in a game of hide and seek, which is what I usually play when I'm playing Yeeps. So it's just kind of a bummer. I feel like it's mostly just a waste of space. It is pretty good. However, I just don't skybase that often. You throw it down, like in a doorway, then you run through, and then people behind you get stuck. It is kind of skillful when you do that. You have to time it. However, I just don't find myself using that. There's so many better items to get ahead. So, yeah. I just don't recommend using this unless this is one of the only items you have. On to the next tier, which is A tier. Alright guys, the next item is actually the freeze glove. Unfortunately, I don't own it. For A tier, you might be wondering why don't I own it, as earlier I provided examples of why I don't own items because they're just bad items. However, this is a good item. I don't own it. That's just because I film a lot of videos. This is one of the items that it's pretty expensive, it's pretty hard to get to, and the items getting up to it just aren't very good, so that's why I don't own it. I'm using the bat, for example, because it's pretty similar to the freeze glove. However, it's just not the best. I just recommend using the bat and the freeze ball, or the snowball, in other words. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the best. I do recommend other items. On to the next item. Alright guys, the next item is the bat, and you can see I'm using the pirate reskin to differentiate the two. Another reason why I love the bat is just because of the reskin. It looks really sick. However, let's get to the main reasons. The bat does knockback, similar to the freeze glove. I already provided a lot of examples of why I like it. However, it destroys things, which I don't think the freeze glove can do. It's one of the only items that can destroy things. The dagger can't do that. A lot of other items that destroy things can't. And it's way cheaper than the explosive one. If you break pillow plants, you get the cotton back from them. Good if people are trying to grief your skybase, you can hit them off. It's one of the best knockback items and the best FFA style items. So, let's move on to the next item. Sorry my dog's being loud, but on to the next item. Alright guys, I just realized I'm yapping a little too much, so I'm gonna try to cut my explanations a little shorter. So, we got the confetti gun, it's 500 cotton, the same as the bat, and I think the freeze glove also costs 500. But the thing about this is that it's anti-resistance to gravity. I think it's just resistant to gravity, not anti-resistance. But how this thing actually works is that if you're falling, and I'm falling, I can hit it and I go against it. One reason why this is just so high is just because of that factor. A lot of items can't do that. If you guys don't know, I play Spleef a lot, like a little too much. And this is a great item for Spleef because a lot of items, when you're falling, you can't actually help yourself. Freeze balling or snowballing yourself and then using like a pellet gun or something definitely counters that. However, this is a solid option because it is honestly cheaper than using the snowball in the pellet gun. I think so. So if you're just falling, boom, and then I'm just out of there. So I think this is definitely a good item. The only reason why it's not an S tier is just because of how expensive it is. It's 500, but then it costs 100 cotton to shoot, and a lot of times you're not going to eat it back up. Unlike the pellet gun, if you're just firing it at people. This isn't very good at knockback. I think it does destroy some pillows if you're really close to them. Yeah. On to the next item. Alright guys, the next item is the teleport ball, aka the ender pearl. This works just like an ender pearl from Minecraft, if you guys know how that works. You throw it, and then it teleports you. This is a pretty solid item. It unfreezes you, which is the main thing I use it for. However, similarly to the confetti gun, it is way too expensive. This costs 500 cotton. I don't know if I already said that, but it is just really expensive. It's overpriced. I don't find myself using it that much. It's not the best item. However, I think it's pretty cool. It's really fun to use. It literally just teleports you. Like, you can't get any better than that. So, on to the second to last thing in A tier. I don't know how I said it like that. Alright guys, the second last is the umbrella. This one, I always have it in my loadout whenever I'm in playground. It's really good to sky camp with it. It's kind of like skybasing, except for people literally can't get to you. I think this is a really good item. It does cost 500 cotton, so that's why it's not an S tier. It's too expensive. The reskin does look sick, however I am a little mad about that. That's another reason why it's not getting S tiers, because I didn't get it. I could afford it, there's better things I wanted. But yeah, it's a pretty solid item. You can literally float with it. I was gonna say you can literally fly with it, but you can't. On to the very last item in A tier. Alright guys, the last item in A tier is the snowball. The snowball is a really solid item. It works exactly like the freeze sticky bomb. It just freezes people. If you hit people directly, it does knock back. If you have two of them, you can just hit your face and you go pretty far. It is really expensive though, if you do that. These are only 300, which are really well priced. I was gonna put in S tier, however, a lot of the items that I put in S tier are just way better than this. It doesn't deserve S tier. This is a unique item, similar to what I'm gonna say about some of the S tier items. It's just unique, and it's just different from the rest of the items, and it's just hard to rank, because it's just my opinion. So, please don't hate, again, this is my opinion, but we are going to go to S tier. Sorry I didn't explain it too well, it's just freeze. That's it. All you do is just freeze. But anyways, on to S tier. Alright guys, you might be noticing, well, where is it? And it's actually on me. It's the sled. The sled is a really useful item. I love using the sled. It's so fun. It's a very unique item, similar to what I said about the snowball. It's just, you float with it, you know? Another sick thing though, is that you can sit on ceilings upside down, so it's hard for people to tag you. This is really good for carrying your momentum, so if you're just floating across the ground, you could do that. I don't know, it's a lot of fun to use, especially in like skate park style maps. You can just, so yeah, not a whole lot into it. You guys have probably seen the sled before. It's 500 cotton, so if you put it on, fill it full cotton, then you get low, you can eat it, pull out an umbrella, whatever. Yeah, it's pretty useful. But yeah, that's literally all I have to say about it. Not too much to go into it, it's just a sled. But onto the fourth best item, I think. Alright, the fourth best item is these. I was gonna put grapplers to be honest. However, I'm just gonna put them a little higher up. The pellet gun is really good for mobility. It costs 400 to go this far, which is just really far. And if the barrier wasn't here, I could have kept on going. Especially if I use sled with it. See, I can just, or if I landed and I turned, I could keep using my momentum. But yeah, it's really useful. It's also fun to use, just shoot people. And then the reskin of it is also sick. The reskin is the exact same. It's just a reskin. Yeah, really useful. It's cheap. It's just really good. A lot of these S tier items, they're cheap and they're just really useful. That's really all I have to say about it. On to the top 3 best items in all of Yeeps. Alright guys, at number 3 we have the grapplers. I was gonna put something else, but I changed my mind. Yes, they're the grapplers. They're grapplers. We all know them. We all love them. They're grapplers. They're just grapplers. But yeah, they're grappler. But I literally don't know what else to say. They're just grapplers. They're good. You can just swing around. If somebody doesn't own grapplers, it's pretty hard to defend against them. You know, just boing. Boom. They're a little expensive. They cost 200 to shoot. However, they're just so useful. I know I'm just kind of blabbering about the same thing. They're really useful. I don't know what else to say. They're just grapplers. But yeah, on to the second best item in all of them. Alright guys, we got the impulse bomb. I love the impulse bomb so much. It's so fun to use. I've recorded this actually like 3 times because my footage kept on corrupting. But if you throw 2 down, you can actually pin ride with them as well. You can see how far I go for like 1,000. Compared to the firework, it's definitely better. You can also pin ride, as I just showed. So, it's just really useful. I don't know why you wouldn't use it. It's a pretty cheap item to get. You can see it's just right here on the tech web. And you get the firework on the way. It's also close to the portable and the umbrella. So they're all, some of the best items are just right here. So, yeah, that doesn't really matter. However, it is just a solid item. On to the best item, in my opinion, in all of Yeeps. Let's go. Alright guys, the best item in all of Yeeps is the hot cocoa. The hot cocoa, you can pin ride with it. It's really useful. You'll notice I have my grapplers and my sled back on, because it actually combos with them pretty well. You can see, especially in Blue House, with the sled, I can go really fast, and it's hard for people to tag me. But another thing is, I'm going to show you. Alright guys, I'm over here now. You can actually jump like this. You can see I can go pretty far. But then if you combine it with the spider grapplers, you can see I can go pretty much double the distance. Yeah, it's pretty broken, but it's mostly used if you're like on a wall or something. And you just scale it. And it only costs 400 cotton. It costs 200 per one of these, but it costs 400 cotton just for this. Holy crap, that's broken. It's just a really pretty balanced item. It also unfreezes you, which is the main mechanic, I feel like. However, it's just so broken. When I first got it, like, oh, that's cool. Then when I learned how to hot cocoa jump, it's just a game changer. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna cue to the outro. Alright guys, this is officially the outro. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is the part of the video where I say,
make sure to like and subscribe, or else I'm coming to your house and putting a spider in your bed while you sleep.
But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy. Hope you can subscribe. Hopefully you guys can stay to watch my channel grow and to even just see some of my other videos. But with all that said, comment down below if you have any other thoughts. Maybe you would put a different item as your favorite, maybe different top 3, whatever it might be. Make sure to comment down below, and I will definitely comment on it if you ask a question, whatever. I try to like every comment that I have. I don't get a lot of comments, so I'd greatly appreciate it. But with all that said, I'd like the 5th time me saying it. See you guys next time. Bye bye.